Hello, welcome to our weekly wrap-up. We have some fun questions today, as always, and we have some funny stuff to share. Okay, go ahead, Randy, with the funny stuff.
So 2 times this week, clients with running energy, and both times clients getting injured. So running, there is a great place for it. If your body's not ready for it, then you definitely don't want to run. And one of the people has been chained to her desk for the last month, and she's like, I had a boost of energy, I'm going to go for a run. And then there's a chiropractic adjustment and a few days of recovery. So if you're not used to running, doing it on a regular basis, don't just get a wild hair and go for a run.
Basically, don't go from a couch to a 5K in 24 hours.
I mean, you can. It might hurt.
I mean, you shouldn't.
And then the other person too just was like, hey, let's just be a baby bird.
Yes. So we're calling it baby bird syndrome. So when you hire a coach, there is this level of trust. Now, sometimes that trust, it takes time to build over time. You create this, intimate relationship, hopefully, ideally. And a lot of the times, clients have this idea of I'm using my coaches to kind of give me food guidance and, general workouts. But actually, high-touch coaching, like we all do, is way more intimate than that. So I call it the baby bird. So you're going to take everything that you think you know about fitness and nutrition and stress management, and you're going to take it and you're going to ball it up and you're going to chuck it. And then you're going to if you get running energy and you get this wild hair, you're going to pause and then you're going to send us a message and go, should I? Can I? Am I there? And we're going to say yay or nay.
Red light, green light.
Yep. Yellow light. So anyway, I call it baby bird because a lot of the times when we have been, clients, people, women, men, whatever, we've been in this fitness scene for a while. We know how to work out. Dang it, we got to go hard. And then your coach is like, no, slow down. Sometimes it's like, wait, what do you mean? Why would I do that? We will tell you why. But ask us first. What's that funny saying? Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah. Yeah, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Sure. But when you hire a coach, you might want to ask permission.
Yeah, it just goes in. But most people have never worked with a coach, and especially in a very intimate setting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so be a baby bird. Oh, yeah. I have another funny one. I have a client who normally if she decides, or if she goes rogue, if life stress gets in the way and she tends to retreat, we have a new funny emoji that she'll send me. It's a raccoon, because her tendency is to go raccoon, and she'll just raccoon her pantry for little snackies.
Yep.
And so she'll send me a raccoon and I'll send her a garbage can, and then it's bam, that's how we know we have to get on the phone.
Yep. Don't be a raccoon.
Don't be a raccoon.
Don't go scavenging.
Okay, so that was funny. So raccooning.
Super funny.
Yeah, we go raccooning. All right, what else?
I think that's really it. Just jump into our questions.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. I have something, a fun little exercise that I think we should do. So one big thing that's popped up this week is the difference between relaxing self-care and energizing self-care. And there is such a difference, right? So when people say, oh, you've got to do self-care work. Well, for some people, that could mean reading a book on the couch for hours. Mm-hmm. For another person, it could be going for a 45-minute walk. Mm-hmm. So what I like to do is have clients get a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On one side, you have your energizing self-care, and the other side, you have your relaxing self-care. Mm-hmm. And make a nice, long, detailed list, And then you have your two go-tos, because there is a time and a place for both.
Yep.
And if it's the middle of the day and you feel like you need to fill your cup with some form of self-care, but reading on the couch for 2 hours isn't really going to move you towards your fat loss goal, but going for a walk will, then I'm going to encourage you to go do that one, right?
Yep.
If it's 9 o'clock at night, am I going to encourage you to go for a walk? No. Go take a bubble bath.
You know what's funny too is when you just mentioned that 2-3 o'clock, that energy dip, that's when most people need some kind of energizing self-care and not just an energy drink or coffee or some form of stimulant. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dopamine will wake you up.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what 50 squats and 10 minutes of yoga can do for the brain and body.
I wanted to add one thing too, because we talked last time about kids and kids eating. And thank you. There were some good comments about that. People saying thank you, and it is hard. Same thing with kids and mood and attitude adjustments. We were talking to our neighbor last night, and I was just saying, hey, if you ever hear some screaming, yelling, it might be my kids running up and down the street and then coming and doing some jumping jacks back and forth to correct the attitude. It works a lot better than screaming, yelling, slamming doors, right? Keeps us.
Speaking of running energy.
Yeah. And our neighbor next door too, she's like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. I did with my boys all the time. So, yeah.
Oh, so then we should say that is a tactic that we use. And so exercise, we call it exercise attitude correction, not discipline, because those of you who know us know that we view exercise as a gift, not an obligation. And we don't want our kids to view it as, a punishment, but it's a reset. And we tell them that. We're like, you know what? You are angry. You need to go 20 burpees right now, and then we will have a little chit chat.
And here's a funny story. Our oldest, her and I are very, very similar. We're very much rebels. So, and her and I can really butt heads. So we started this when we were still in Montana. Our house, the yard was the size of a park. And we need the attitude adjustment. For the first 2 to 3 laps, and I would always tell Justin, don't come outside, everything will be fine. There'd be more screaming and yelling and snotting and crying and just angry. By laps 5, very much calming down. Always by lap 7, she's stopping and giving Dad a hug and saying sorry every single time. So yeah, there's a lot of scientific reasons, right? We're getting out energy. Most people, when we have a good workout, we never feel worse than after a workout, right? And for kids too, we get, they just need to get out energy. Kids have so much energy. And a lot of times kids just don't move enough these days. So getting that energy out, it doesn't have to always be, sometimes it's like we can see the attitude starting to shift. We're like, hey, go jump on the trampoline for 5 minutes, and they come in laughing. So it's fun, and it's for their health. And mom and dad's mental health.
Yeah, totally. All right, are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's get into we're starting with
questions. All right, so Caitlin said she has some questions about specific meal timing, but mostly breakfast. She said there's a lot of conflicting information out there. I see it. I know this is true. Of the importance of women eating within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. So there's a lot of coaches out there that claim to be hormonal coaches, and their big thing is cortisol is the culprit for your lack of fat loss, and you need to eat within 30 to 60 minutes of waking to lower your cortisol, to increase your metabolism and get your fat burning fired up. Okay.
Well, here's what typically happens. One of the certifications, the lady who is one of the top research for the company, talked about fasting for men and women and how it can be harder for women to fast. Like, this is her, Canadian scholar, scientist. She does, some women can do fine. Men typically do better with it, right? So what happens is hold on, listen, because there's these influencers, they go and they get a little piece of information from somebody much smarter than them, and then they just run with it and they're making it their own, and then they're changing it, and it turns into nonsense, and it's just getting people riled up. So you mentioned cortisol. So most of the hormone experts don't understand your cortisol is supposed to increase the last couple hours of sleep. It will be at its highest in the morning because it's supposed to wake you up. Cortisol helps you wake up.
Right.
So
cortisol gets a really bad rap, and it's actually a very important hormone.
But it's not supposed to be high all the time.
No.
It's supposed to be high in the morning and taper down, and lowest if you can't go to sleep at night. A lot of times it could be because your cortisol is elevated for some reason. So your cortisol is supposed to be high in the morning, and just because you eat doesn't automatically lower your cortisol and put you in a fat burning mode and all these different things you hear. That's just not. It's these people use big words and they don't know what they mean. So,
what was the fake word? That term we heard from that one coach?
Oh, metabolic
resistance.
Yeah, this person literally made up their own word instead of insulin resistance, metabolic resistance, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Oh, she ran with that one for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else?
Well, you wanted to talk about just listening to your body, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, as you guys know, we do not follow a clock. We are huge proponents of listening to our body. When our body tells us we're hungry, that is our cue to honor our body and eat. Imagine that. We don't follow a clock. We follow our natural body's rhythm. Sometimes what happens is that when we have never done that before, and a lot of us have been dieting for, we can just say our whole lives, those signals are not turned on. And especially when we're not eating the right kinds of foods. Again, our body does not even know when we're full because we either undereat or we overeat, right? So our body is whacked. So it takes time, but ideally we eat when we're hungry. So first sign of hunger would be sometimes a dip in energy, a dip in mood, a little fuzzy brained, maybe
before your stomach growls.
Yeah. Sometimes even like a little bit of an anxious pang, and then it's like, oh, you know what? Time to eat. So a lot of the times we don't even recognize that because we just have never paid attention to it and never knew that we should pay attention to it. We've always been told breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We need to eat right when we wake up and then, eat 2 hours later to keep our metabolism fueled, and that's nonsense. So meal timing. Our bodies are designed to eat a meal and then not eat for a good 4 to 5 hours and then eat again, another meal. So we are designed to eat 2 to 3 large meals a day, sometimes 4 if you are awake for a really long period of time. Would you like to add anything?
One of the reasons why this does get attention is there's a catalog of these researchers have been keeping track for like the last 20, 30 years of people who have lost, to get into this, you have to lost 30 pounds and keep it off. It's either 3 or 5 years. And what they do is they track their habits. So one of these habits is having a high protein breakfast. But I don't really think they say within 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 2 hours. So that is a thing. And you guys know, we build the pyramid, we build the base with breakfast, right? If you have been a chronic dieter and you've tried fasting and you've been starving yourself and you're trying to exercise and all these things, you need to eat breakfast. You probably shouldn't be fasting because your body and your metabolism are probably screwed up. But we want you to eat when you're actually hungry. Now, here's another problem. When you do all these things, you're going to retrain your brain and your leptin, ghrelin hormones, so you won't be hungry. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we figure out with people, hey, you're hungry, because I've had people say, oh, I get hungry at this time, but then if I just do something, it goes away. It's like, well, maybe you were supposed to actually eat.
Right.
Sometimes for people, like they know they start getting hungry or they have the dips in energy or all the things, say, at 9 o'clock. But if they get busy, then it's like, okay, you need to give yourself a little window though, and actually try to eat within this window.
Yeah. So, because again, the whole the concept of disrespecting and ignoring our body, I really can't stand it. And guys, I did it for years. I've done it since I was. Yeah,
but people are being trained to track their metrics, to listen to these little, your watches, and not be intuitive with their body.
But my point is that at the end of the day, it's a form of neglect and disrespect, because we are allowing to do the dishes or the laundry or to go get the last errands done, whatever, instead of taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So most people probably need to eat within at least 2 hours. They should be hungry. And I would say if you're in your 30s, you probably need 35, 40 grams of protein. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you probably need 40, 50 grams of protein. You need more protein per meal as we age. And again, don't listen to people just trash on cortisol. Cortisol in the morning is your alarm clock. It's waking your body up.
Yep, absolutely. And also, too, pay attention to what you ate the night before. If you had a really large dinner and you are not hungry in the morning, you're good. If you had a light dinner and you wake up hungry, there you go. There it is.
Your stomach growling is telling you to eat. Like when your stomach is growling, eat food.
Yep. All right. Kim wants to know how to get the best sleep. Are there natural foods or supplements that help you feel relaxed and get sleepy fast?
I'll take this one right here. My sleep habits were terrible. I slept 4 to 5 hours a night. Jess and I have done a bunch of DNA testing, and I actually have a night owl gene. So my body wants to stay up late and then sleep in. Night owl is a real thing. They call it the night owl gene. So it's taken me a very long time to try to get normal sleep. I try to be asleep, I'm in bed by 10ish and then hopefully sleep by 10:30. If I go like 3 days, this time change, which I hate, going to bed a little bit later, then all of a sudden my body's trying to keep me awake until, in the 11 o'clock hour. So, what you're doing the 1 hour leading up to bed, keep things calm, keep the lights low. Your phone screen and your tablet screen are going to tell your brain to wake up. Try to minimize those, stay away from them. I take a Ollie, it's Ollie brand, right?
Yeah.
It's the kids sleep gummy. And sometimes I take a half. Super low dose of melatonin, theanine, lemon balm, might be something else in there. I also take a 1/8 teaspoon of inositol. Inositol is actually like a natural ambient. The melatonin helps you get to sleep faster. The inositol helps you get into deeper sleep and stay asleep. So, but it's going to take a long time. Sometimes it's starting with just trying to go to bed 10 minutes earlier, 15 minutes earlier for a week or 2 weeks, and just trying to build a habit. So,
well, nighttime routines are really important
huge.
Too. So
sleep hygiene.
Yes.
And people think it sounds so silly.
Right, but no, it's true. You want to sleep in a dark, quiet room, cooler temperatures.
Yep. 62 to 67 degrees is ideal sleeping temperature.
Yes. Things that help you feel sleepy faster, lighting candles.
Yeah, candles and
So
lights.
the flicker of the flame, whether from a fireplace or a candle, it actually helps lower your stress levels.
Blackout. So one of the best bangs for your buck, where we just worked with Corey on this one, get blackout curtains, blackout shades, something to black out your room. It is the cheapest thing you can do, lowest barrier to entry to get better sleep.
If you have a noisy neighborhood, then a sound machine would work wonderfully.
They're not just for kids.
Let's see, what else? You also created a PDF, didn't you?
Yeah.
A sleep one, so maybe we can link it.
We can.
Okay. All right. Chamomile tea. Those are all great things. You're writing it down?
Sleep PDF.
Sleep PDF. All right.
And if anybody wants to hit the little Google machine, just look up Kirk Parsley and sleep. Great doctor. He's done.
Fantastic sleep expert.
He's one of the foremost sleep experts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we love him. Okay. Jenny?
Nitrates. This one.
How are they harmful and in what quantities?
So here's a lot of the studies on nitrates and nitrites, processed meats versus unprocessed meats. There's very conflicting information. Some people say they don't really matter. The problem with these studies is because if you go eat a McDonald's Happy Meal, a Big Mac with the bun and the fries, they say that's processed meat. It's not. If you take somebody on a pure carnivore diet that just eats, meat and chicken, beef, eggs, they don't really study those people.
Right.
So, but and the studies they have done is they've linked stomach cancer and I think intestinal cancer, but it's in lab animals. So, some people though, they do notice, like if you eat processed meats, which have nitrites, you might get a headache. That's a sign of like you're sensitive to them. So you do see celery salt, right? Bacon, you'll see bacon. If it's uncured, it's celery salt, but there's tons and tons and tons of nitrates and nitrites in vegetables. So if all of them were bad, then they would tell you to not eat vegetables too, right? So we just kind of feel it's like I would rather get we try to eat uncured, but we don't always do that. So I wouldn't worry about it too much unless you feel that some people eat uncured meats and then eat cured meats and see how you feel.
So do they need to be afraid of cancer? I think that study came out that
there's another study that basically said that this is all garbage and there's no difference if you just eat meat, and it doesn't matter if it's cured or uncured. It's not going to do really anything different.
The huge damage that they have said.
So, but what they can do now, again, if it's natural, we always believe that natural is better. If it's coming from they're making nitrates and nitrites, they're non-natural. There are things that show they can disrupt your gut a little bit. So I would just pay attention to that and figure it out. But yeah, we eat that stuff sometimes.
Right.
So
yeah.
And the reason why they're in food is to keep food from spoiling.
Yeah, it's a preservative.
Yep.
All right, Matt wants to know, is sweating good for weight loss?
Sweating is just good, period.
It is.
So it's a sign of health, right? So it doesn't just have to be weight loss. But yeah, when your body is going, whether you're sitting in a sauna sweating, whether you're exercising, your body is doing work. Heart rate's typically up. So yes, if you are sweating, you are probably doing something positive for your body, which is probably leading to health or weight loss. So
love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Allison was wondering about sprints. How do you do them? What intervals? How often? And what length for a starter? So
before you do that, sprints are very individual. So we'll say, Allison, you don't do them unless you check with her.
Baby bird.
Sprints are great. But again, so sprinting could be, if you're running sprints, one of the highest chances of something you can do for an injury, ankle, knee, hip, pulling a hammy, right?
Yeah.
The guys that are 35 that don't do anything and then they all of a sudden go play a pickup game, they pull a hammy.
Yeah.
It's become a metaphor. But you can do burpee sprints, you can do rower sprints, you can do jump squat sprints. So a Tabata is one of the better forms of sprinting where we're doing 120, 150% of your output, like you're just pushing yourself for 20 seconds.
Short window. So sprinting should not be done for a long. Oh, I just did a 4-minute sprint. No, you didn't.
No, you can't. You physically can't. About the most that anybody can really sprint is probably like 400 meters, and that is around the track.
Yep.
That is about maybe 500 meters is where you can actually sprint, and we're talking like these are Olympic level athletes. So
so the average you and me, we are not Olympic athletes. We just want to look good.
But sprints are good. But again, so if you're not walking consistently 10,000 steps per day and moving your body, you should be doing probably 0 sprinting.
Okay.
So
again, it's very individualized.
Yes.
But I would say that if you have a strong foundation, you are ready to play around with
Yep.
sprints, you don't need to do them for maybe once a week.
Well, that's what I was going to say too.
7 to
Like
10 days.
if we're looking at all this stuff, you know, if we want to make the ideal schedule, you should be resistance training for at least 30 minutes 3 times a week. That's your basis, right?
Yeah.
You should be walking at least 10,000 steps per day, or figure out what 10,000 steps looks in time and go for a usually 30 minutes to an hour depending on the person.
Okay.
You should be doing a ruck or a steady state cardio, preferably outdoors, for at least an hour a week. And sprinting is kind of the top of the pyramid, right? We do everything else and our bodies are ready for work. That can be just one, and it doesn't have to be a sprint. It can even be a very a HIIT workout, 15 minutes worth of sprint-like movement. So one to 2 times a week, for 5 to 15 minutes.
Or if we are just talking about sprinting, because that's what we're talking about.
Well, sprinting is interval training.
Yes, but we'll say no more than 5 minutes.
Depending on your level, it's all individual. So a Tabata, if you want to sprint, do a Tabata.
Yes.
What is that? You wanna tell
What
us?
is a Tabata? Just go baby bird it. Just go ask us. No. So a Tabata is a total of 4 minutes, 20 seconds of work at maximum capacity with a 10-second rest. That does not mean you're dancing for 10 seconds. Yes, I've seen it. It means you're breathing for 10 seconds, getting ready to do 20 seconds of work again for a total of 4 minutes.
Yep.
There is no reason to do an hour of Tabata.
Well, no, the CrossFit world came up
Looking
with...
at you, Tabata boot campers.
Well, Tabata boot camp, but the CrossFit world came up with 20 minutes worth of Tabata workouts. So sprinting is so good. And if you do one round of Tabata when done properly...
Why? There is something so beautiful, something so perfect. Why do they go and just hijack it?
Because they're not intelligent people.
It's like, sprinting is great. Let's do it for an hour.
Well, it's because lack of intelligence, and then we have the other people out there that are literally trying to become, the term used to be thought leaders, and now I just call them cult leaders because they're trying to do the same thing.
Okay. All right. So
sprinting is great.
So in conclusion, sprinting is fantastic.
Do a Tabata. But again, check with us because Baby Bird. We will get it programmed for you correctly. But yeah, if you are at that ability, but again too, maybe you can't work past 100% of your max capacity.
Yep, that's
but
okay.
maybe we got to get you to do some sprinting at 60 or 80.
Absolutely.
What I was going to say is...
100 for you is not 100 for me.
Correct. It's different for
there we
everybody
go.
else.
Yep.
When we had our studio and my lovely high performers, when I really showed them what Tabata was like, every single one of them had to lay down on the ground.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you do it right, you are tapped out at 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You're laying on the ground. You're done. You're toast. You don't want to do anything else.
If you have access to a rower, go try to row 500 meters in 2 minutes or less. Everybody's like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
No, it's not, unless you've been doing that. So.
All right.
I think that's all we got.
That's it. Go team.
All right. Everybody.
Happy weekend. We made it.
Another week down. Bye.
Bye.